It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Welcome to EdTech Mondays Nigeria, a platform that facilitates critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. I am Chinyelu Apa, your host, and it's great to be back here again. In this final episode, we wrap up our July series on technology as an enabler of alternative education. Earlier in the series, we explored emerging trends and challenges in alternative education, highlighting how technology is enabling self-paced learning, informed career choices, and deeper engagements beyond the four walls of the classroom. We examined tech-enabled programs that go beyond just content delivery to empowering young Nigerians with leadership skills, life tools, and civic awareness. On the last episode, we also spotlighted an EdTech organization reimagining learning through storytelling, leadership, and life skills with a platform that goes beyond academics to build cultural identity, emotional intelligence, and purpose in learners. Today, we are closing the conversation and we are joined by an advocate for inclusive and transformative education who drives leadership, values-based, and life skills education through scalable, tech-enabled learning experiences that empower young Africans with leadership, life, and entrepreneurial skills. Our guest on the show today is a visionary EdTech leader and digital innovation strategist with over a decade of experience transforming education across Africa. As the learning, innovation, and technology lead at Leap Africa, he designs scalable digital ecosystems using emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, and immersive media to improve learning outcomes. He has led impactful initiatives such as Leap e-learning bootcamp and the MasterCard Foundation's transformative leadership program, and is widely respected for his expertise in instructional design, curriculum innovation, and digital learning strategy. He is a sought-after speaker and mentor, committed to merging tech innovation with purpose-driven leadership to accelerate Africa's digital learning. Join me as I welcome today Ferdinand Iruka. Hello, Ferdinand. It's good to have you there. Quite an impressive CV you have here.
I was about to ask, who is this guy? Let me meet him. Yeah. I'm happy.
Meet you.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. And a lot of work you are doing. Do you get time to close your eyes at all? Because it seems like your plate is always full. And our viewer, let me put him on the spot. I have been chasing Ferdinand for years. He has been chasing me, I've been chasing him, and finally, he's on our hot sips, where he'll be sharing nuggets and gems on technology as an enabler for alternative education.
Wow. Thank you. So to your question, that do I get to rest? I'm not sure I get to rest. I mean, if we get to rest, who fixes Africa when all of us get to rest? But I mean, it's really about the passion to see how we could change the ecosystem, especially when it comes to tech, how we use tech in Africa. And just narrow it down to education as well, to say that we have a lot of stakeholders and players in Africa that want to see changes. And if you see that in one place, there's no way we're able to make those changes. Africa is very unique. Our learning style is very, very unique, and it requires you to get up and meet other people who are doing great things and see how there's some kind of handshakes to say, okay, you're doing this and I'm doing this. I think your part can fuel my part can fuel your part. So yeah, there's no rest.
No rest for us if we want to truly reimagine education in Nigeria and across the continent. So now, how are organizations like yours leveraging technology to effectively reach and engage young people across Nigeria? And I ask this because When people think about technology, most times it's seen as a distraction. And what we've done in the past, 3 episodes of this month is helping our listeners see that first off, that technology education goes beyond what we see in the classroom, which now brings in the alternative education conversation. And now knowing that you cannot always make this available in the classroom. We talked about social emotional learning. We talked about civic awareness. And you do leadership and entrepreneurial skills, all of which are not things you regularly see in our curriculum with what learners are expected to know and maybe write in their exams. We are more focused on, book knowledge, textbook, write your physics, chemistry, biology, economics, accounts, and move into a university or do something. So, how have you been able to effectively reach first and engage young people in your alternative education programs across Nigeria?
Okay, so I'll just go straight into it. I would really applaud that, technology has done a lot for us. I mean, I lead the Learning Innovation and Technology Unit at Leap Africa. Leap Africa is 23 years in counting now into youth development across Africa. And I mean, when the organization started, there was a lot of focus on, back then in class trainings and the likes. But we've seen how over time how technology has been able to help us scale. So one part of what we're doing using technology to enable, that reach across Africa is even having to acquire like a learning management system. That's one area where technology has been able to help us to, gain reach. We've also seen how um, tech-enabled products that provide community interaction between our constituents from all the different programs that we run. We've seen how peer-to-peer integrations into all these programs has also helped to scale, that as well. Technology for us is not just the when people hear technology, there's just this, oh, you have to be Jimmy Neutron or Dexter to be, in that space. But we've seen how technology is most simply, there will be very simple things that you can just integrate, aside just even providing an LMS, for our consultants from our development programs. We've seen how we're able to even create like digital courses. I mean, we've taken something that it would have taken you 3 months to, consume in terms of learning. And we've turned it into something very bite-sized. And we're seeing how gamification is also an interesting one too. It's also a way for technology to ensure that people are being, accounted for because you're thinking about the different types of learners. I think that's something we will get into because technology has helped us see that there are different kind of people who learn differently, and technology provides us with that ability to say, okay, we can cater for this kind of learners, we can cater for this kind of learners, we can cater for this kind of learners. So um AI is another one that I want to touch on here. I mean, I can go on and on, but I want to touch on AI because AI is something that is changing. Exactly,
Changer.
like it's really. I'm a big advocate for AI, like big one. But at the same time, I mean, everyone has those fears into technology when it comes in like that. But I would say that AI is. I would encourage people to accept AI because AI is doing something. It's closing certain gaps that we would have struggled in the past. Like I always tell people, AI is just a tool. I mean, there's lots of conversation around AI will take your jobs and all that. I mean, I could use a lot of analogies to tell you why AI won't take your job. I mean, if you look at years ago, I have a degree in visual art and technology, and in my years during my university years, you learn about the basics about printing press. Uh, there's a way there were technologies used then for printing press, but now today
Outdated and also
outdated. I mean, you have 3D printings now and all that. That's technology. Did it remove or did it take away many people's job? I think it just took people who didn't want to accept the new type of technology that would make your work faster. So,
I mean, all of these are applied to education. That's now the game changer.
game changer.
And because from everything you've said, it has cut down the ease of delivering these programs
Honestly,
and really
task.
getting these young people where they are with the things that interest them.
Very, very true.
Because if you're in the classroom and maybe you're administering a test on assessment and it's just tear out a sheet of paper and take down these questions compared to a situation where they are doing something on a learning management system that is gamified, and when you score 10 questions in 10 minutes, it's, puts you on a leaderboard, all of which, unlock, their intrinsic reward system. So yeah, and now still tying down to what you said about gaps and, plugging in specific gaps. Where are the gaps in our traditional education systems that these tech-enabled programs are plugging? Or do you think that there are any gaps that are plugging?
There are gaps. There are gaps. Let me just that's and there's a lot of debate around the traditional system of education. Is this still effective? Does this still work? I think to mention that traditional system has really focused on a lot of academics. And just like you mentioned, when you go to that system, will tell you, oh, you need to take a test, and you're being scored based on the test. With what technology is doing now, some of the gaps we're able to fill. We've come to understand, like I mentioned earlier, learners, people learn differently. You can't put learning in a box in terms of timeline and duration. The traditional system will tell you, that, okay, you need to go through 1 year and all that. But with technology now, you're able to tell someone, okay, self-paced. You can learn, while you're doing this, and you don't have to have that effect. If I use myself as an example, I went to a state university, Cross River University of Technology, and I remember then, I think I was one of the youngest people then when I even got gain admission, and some of my classmates then were already working. And it's not new news globally. People would work, and some people are financing their own education. And what does that mean for someone who already has businesses and he having to work at the same time? It means that he's going to miss lectures. He's going to it's not going to be as good as you who has always been coming every day. Assessments, you might not even be able to do some of the assessment, but with technology, we're not telling you that you can do this on the ease of anywhere you're going there. Your mobile, you can really be traveling and you're doing that. Technology has been able to close that gap. And I think another one thing to add here, because there are lots, but maybe one significant thing to add here is how technology has even helped or supported with learning paths for learners globally. With the traditional system, how do you really evaluate and say that when a certain student fails a subject, how do you evaluate from the data? But technology has come in to fill that gap. Technology is now saying that I can set certain metrics in place within a course set or whatever it is. And once this student has gone through this particular course, I can now decide and using those matrices, pull out data and say, you know what, Ferdinand needs to move to this. I think Ferdinand, is good at this. I'm able to see that he's lacking a bit in knowledge in this, and I'm recommending he takes this. That is what technology has done. It has changed.
And I'm thinking about the number of people you can do this for in 40 minutes.
Exactly.
Which is typical classroom.
Even in less, to be honest, with AI now, even with less. Wonderful AI now. Because we back at our organization, we're already testing out some models inside to see how we can also do that, because we are focused on leadership, and leadership requires there are certain skills that builds you up as a leader and understanding how to be a leader. And we're looking at those certain metrics that need to be in place. How do you get a content from someone every day to now say, okay, you've done well in this critical thinking, ethical thinking, you're here, emotional intelligence. How do you factor that this person is good? How do you also scale it? Because emotional intelligence has scaled it. Like I always tell people, emotional intelligence is something that I think we even need to sell lots, especially in this part of the world, Nigeria specific, maybe narrow it down to Lagos too, because a lot of people lack emotional intelligence and they don't know this because most of them have had to acquire the knowledge they have through the traditional system. But with technology now, we're changing that. There's a lot of good happening with technology, and it's closing a lot of those gaps we've seen in the traditional system.
So now, I think I can answer this on behalf of what you do. But let me still ask it. What impact have you seen from the digital learning programs in terms of personal and civic growth among young people in Nigeria?
That was a lot. That one I can open like an entire store that, but maybe just to narrow down to some of the quick ones I can. Um, I'll start with a program that we run at our organization. So it's called the Youth Day of Service, and we've been running that for as far back as 2020.
It's a digital program.
Oh yes,
Online.
it is. It is.
Okay.
So the end of that program, for all our programs, mostly, we have something called the Change Project. And from everything they've been able to acquire during that period of time, they get to go out to do certain things for their community. So the Youth Day of Service is something that youths will go out and have to give back to their community. They see a problem in their community and they're saying, you know what, I want to be able to do something about changes within my community. We've also seen how it has translated into civic action. We've seen people who didn't care about what's going on in the country, and now everybody's now like, you know what,
Aware.
I need accountability. I need to understand this. I do remember one digital program, not ours now, but they were really speaking about taxation, and it was quite interesting for me because they were letting us know the rights you have, the fact that you are paying taxes. These are the rights you have as a taxpayer, and these are the demands you can make.
And all of this is happening virtually.
Literally.
And you're having learners from almost all the states.
Not just even the state, where even as far back as it even goes beyond even Nigeria. Yeah, this is
Interesting.
there's an awake in Africa. Africa is now demanding and saying, you know what, technology is not making us, integrate these technologies with other people. We are not seeing youths, young people in Egypt and talking to people in South Africa and saying, oh, how's it over here? How are you guys doing it over here? What can we come together and do? We're now seeing there's a new wave that is coming, and a lot of people are not seeing, and it's around policies, because policies are eventually going to be the go-to eventually, because it's not enough to just say yes, we've seen problems, we've gotten some. There needs to be a policy now that is being for all. So you should say, yeah, all of this, you know what, we've seen it, we're okay with it. There's a policy now that protects this thing. So we've seen how much technology has been able to do that over time, and it's still doing it, especially with this new generation.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. And just learning that this happens beyond Nigeria.
Beyond.
So learners, and I think it's pretty interesting because when you think what you do, leadership, entrepreneurial skills and the rest, you're having learners who are in Port Harcourt.
Oh, yes.
Learning with children who are in Akwa Ibom, and those in Abuja, and those in Lagos, and those in Enugu. And now, as you say, extending it beyond Nigeria to those in Kumasi, and Nairobi and Mombasa, and they all are learning together. So it's really making that the world is a global village being possible. So everybody is learning, and you know what is happening here, contextualizing, experiencing, and still holding what's dear to you. That's really impressive. Very impressive. And to our final question, how should we redefine success, or how do we evaluate success when working with alternative developmental learning models? What should success be to us, really?
I think it's important to state this really well, and because for us in Africa, what I have noticed over time, and I think I just mentioned it earlier, in the traditional system of things, when people take tests, you scored 7/20, that's success. So, but we need to change that narrative, because I mean, not to mention, I had friends back in university that they were A students, but they were cramming. They're just cramming to score, because let's cram, I'll get 2020. It makes any sense. So success will also change from that. So for us, what we think success should be is, after your consistency or your targets go through certain content that you've provided to them, what is the immediate things you should start looking out for? For us, like an organization, we do have a monitoring and evaluation department that when we start off a program or a project, we always have that needs assessment. Then we, create like a baseline, a midline, endline survey. And why these data are important for us because by the time we've set our outcomes and outputs, which is what I think we want to immediately see when this happens. If someone goes through a program and you see, let's take a dummy name now, DG decides to go through a program, and by the end of the program, DG, who was just not doing anything from the start, has now been able to create like a civic engagement program by himself. That's success for us because we're seeing that there's effective change from when DG started. We're seeing that there's conversion of certain things that have happened before. This certain learner or this certain person would have done this before now. We're now seeing that people now are more aware about certain things that they didn't know before. You're now seeing someone who has started and said, oh, my role is, I don't want to be a leader, or I just want to be, and you now see the person leading. Those are successful. Those are the things we should you measure as success metrics. Failure shouldn't be something that should cause a ruckus when someone goes through it. I mean, failure is only just saying that this is not just the way to go about it. It's just as simple. I mean, you need to change that mindset. And this is even just like maybe this is a call to action. Me giving a call to action to say, for everyone in the space, we need to always think that we also look at how success shouldn't be too academic. There are things we need to translate, effective things we need to translate. For a teacher, what would a teacher experience joy when your students take through your class and almost everybody passes? But what are those things that would make you?
What did they pass and they are empty when it comes to this behavior? And
what's a teacher's joy? I mean, you passed biology in high school, and a teacher's joy is not when you pass that biology. A teacher's joy is he meets you 10 years later. Yes, and you're saying that, oh, I'm still doing biology, and that's because of you, and I'm really good at it. And I think it was yesterday. I was going to work yesterday, and I was hearing on the radio, and they brought up something. I can't remember the radio stations, and the guy was like, what did you read in school, and what are you doing now? Send in in the comments, and they were reading out cool stuff. So like, oh, I read chemistry, I'm into fashion now. Someone said, oh, I did computer science, I'm a baker. And it's also funny. And when people were saying out that, me, I read real and technology, I'm still in the I'm still there. I'm still there. As much as I didn't like my lecturers that much, I think they had good impact on that.
And that's really what success metrics are.
Exactly. So those are the things we need to start measuring. We need to come out away from just those academics. We need to start measuring high level things. Life skills is something they don't teach in school, and we need to start encouraging that.
And that's where technology is.
That is where
brilliantly tying the bow.
Exactly, closing that gap really simply. And maybe one last thing to mention here is how technology has even helped with, in use cases now. There's a full charge on mentors now in the space. It's not enough for you to be a particular ecosystem. You also need people who have been there, who can nurture you and say, oh, these challenges are very similar. I can nurture you, show me how it's done. Technology is now opening up to, have mentorship platforms.
And this is very important now because most time when you think about guidance counseling,
exactly,
or just plain counseling, you're thinking before now we always think physical.
Yeah.
Where is the person? Oh, you're in Abuja. How do I travel? Even you didn't, or you're in Lagos. I stay on the mainland. You stay on the island. There's traffic and all of those, hindrances around logistics. But now I think this is actually something that is underrated. That should not be underrated because now people have access to quality information. Think about the bit around career and helping you to pick the right career, and knowing that you can just get on an app.
I had mentors, for my own family anyways, good family support system would say, why don't you start a job first? You get to see what you like, and you're able to apply. People do a mentorship because sometimes you see someone having different degrees, because the person is still trying out. Where do I really fit? Where am I now?
Exactly.
But someone who was already in that would have guided you and said, well, why didn't you do this? And I mean, then we can't hold it. We can't hold some people back to the fact that, okay, technology wasn't readily available then
yes.
to even give you access to.
But right now it's available, so there really isn't any.
It is. But are we? Is it really charged out there?
So that's why we have platforms like EdTech Mondays, where we are letting our listeners, our viewers, know what is available, what's in the space. And as I said, before we came on air, is we give them enough information so they can start doing some work, some research to know what's out there, because really we cannot do and put everybody who is doing all the work up. But when you know that there is a platform that can support your child on life skills, leadership skills, you start searching. You know what you're putting into the search browser to give you, results. When you know that now you have, sites, platforms where people can get mentorship, you now know how to search. And you know that you can get on apps again and platforms and digital programs that will guide children on what career decisions they should make. They now know how to search. This has been very good conversation, Ferdinand. I enjoyed speaking. Dora, you've done penance for all the time that you've been here. Thank you so much, Ferdinand, for sharing your insight with us. It was good having you here.
I'm always glad to be here.
And to you, our listeners, what are your thoughts on this topic this month? Technology as an enabler of alternative education. I'd like to know, how much did you know about alternative education? And do you agree that technology platforms, digital platforms, are the way to go to push alternative education, life skills, socio-emotional learning, civic awareness, things that would not typically be taught in the classroom? Technology is making it possible. Would love to hear from you. And if you have experience taking part in any programs, taking part in using any apps or tools that have supported either you or your ward, your children, would love to learn, to know what your experience has been. Send us an SMS or a WhatsApp message via 0703 165 0809 or 0706 402 0742. Remember also that the conversation does not end here. This month alone, we've had a very interesting time going from different levels of what alternative education means and the role technology plays. Do well to search us out on Spotify, EdTech Mondays Nigeria, or also check us out on YouTube at CC Hub Africa to watch, listen, and join to share your feedbacks as well. Remember also that we have a very active community on WhatsApp and on Telegram. It's EdTech Mondays Nigeria. Simply search, join those communities. We have so much good time expanding on the conversations we have here, and also trying out our hands at amazing tools and solutions that are solving for education in Nigeria. Until I come your way, same time next week, it has been an amazing time on this episode of the show. Stay tuned and keep using technology to push the barriers on education. It's bye for now.
It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by Mastercard Foundation and CC Hub.